Okay, respected audience, before we start the guest lecture, please fill in the attendance form at the link that we have sent in the Zoom live chat column for the certificate creation purpose. Let me speak in bahasa. Hadirin yang kami hormati, sebelum acara guest lecture dimulai, kami persilakan untuk dapat mengisi daftar hadir acara pada link yang ada di kolom live chat Zoom untuk keperluan sertifikat kegiatan. Baik. Honorable Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business di Diponegoro University, Profesor Dr. Suharnomo SE MSI, Honorable Senior Lecturer Faculty of Business, Economics and Accountancy, University Malaysia Sabah, Mr. James Alin PhD, Honorable the Head of Magister Program in Economics, the Faculty of Economics and Business di Diponegoro University, Mr. Wahyu Widodo PhD, as the moderator of the event today. Respected audience, undergraduate and postgraduate students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
First of all, let's praise our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful, the creator and sustainer of the universe, so we can all attend and participate in this online event without any obstacles. Today, December the 9th, 2021, we proudly present guest lecture with the name of Volatility Spillover and Dynamic Co-Movement of Foreign Direct Investment between Malaysia, China, and developed countries. As the first agenda of today's event, I would like to invite the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business di Diponegoro University for an opening speech. To Profesor Dr. Suharnomo SE MSI, time is yours.
Terima kasih, Mas Arya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to deliver the opening remark for our international guest lecturer organized by the Master of Economic Program, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Diponegoro. First of all, before we begin our guest lecture, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. James Alin and to all of you who sincerely committed to this event to make it a success. This event would have been impossible without the support of each and everyone present here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James Alin is a senior lecturer from Faculty of Business, Economic and Accountancy, University Malaysia Sabah. His intellectual works have been cited by a lot of scholars around the world, and today he will share his experience and expertise concerning on foreign direct investment FDI spillovers, specifically between Malaysia, China, and developed countries. This is an interesting topic as FDI become one of the main sources of funding for economic development in developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, FDI has long been used to fill the saving investment gap in many countries in the world. FDI is important as a source of development fund because FDI is able to provide broad spillover for a country's economy, such as creating jobs, creating new economic activities, and transfer of technology. Although due to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2019, the number of FDI inflows to developing countries has decreased, but the contribution of FDI in supporting long-term economic growth remain important. According to ASEAN Investment Report 2020 and 2021, the past 2 years, were exceptional for ASEAN in terms of foreign direct investment. In 2019, we saw the region highest ever inflow at 182 billion, making ASEAN the largest recipient of FDI in developing world. And in 2020, we saw the unprecedented impact of COVID-19 pandemic with a 25% fall in FDI to 137 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the decline, ASEAN remains an attractive investment destination. The region's share of global FDI rise from 11.9% in 2019 to 13.7%. FDI inflows remain more than twice the amount seen during the 2007-2008 global financial crisis and nearly 5 times more than the annual average during 2002-2004 outbreak of SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. Ladies and gentlemen, based on this data, it is very important to analyze how FDI gives the spillover effect on the host country. Measuring spillover is not easy, of course. There are many concepts and perspectives. And regarding these issues, Mr. James Alin has a very interesting paper, and fortunately, it will be discussed here. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this guest lecture will be a profitable and fruitful for everyone present here, and will give us a lot of insight about the opportunities for doing research in FDI and spillovers. Finally, we hope you all enjoy this international guest lecture. Again, thank you, Mr. James Alin, for sharing experience, and thank you, Mas Wahyu Widodo, PhD, for your role as a moderator. Thank you for all participants and enjoy the guest lecturer. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Suharnomo, SAMSE. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, move to the following agenda. We have come to the main part. The reason we are here for the guest lecture with Mr. James Alin, PhD. University Malaysia Sabah, they will be opened and moderated by Mr. Wahyu Widodo, PhD. We cordially invite Mr. Wahyu Widodo, PhD, to open and read the brief CV of the keynote speaker. To Mr. Wahyu Widodo, PhD, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandu. Thank you, Pak Professor Suharnomo, Mr. Suharnomo, as Dean Faculty of Economic and Business, Diponegoro University, for opening remarks. And first of all, before we continue to the discussion, allow me to extend our gratitude to Mr. James Alin. Thank you very much, Mr. James, for joining us to share your experience in doing research related to foreign direct investment and spillover, specifically in Malaysia, related to China and developed countries. I think this is the first time we meet online, but it's okay. Nice to meet you, Mr. James Alin. I hope you integrate the condition. You have a great day to deliver a presentation today. And before we continue the discussion, let me introduce further Mr. James Alin. And let me share the screen. Okay, I think this is the very brief version of Mr. Jim's curriculum vitae. You can find further his profile by browsing, finding the Google Scholar ID or Scopus ID, or even you can open directly to the website of University Malaysia Sabah. James Allin's graduate from economics program Yokohama National University, Japan, and he is a member of Faculty of Business, Economic, and Accountancy, University Malaysia Sabah from 2003 to present. And he has so many experience in doing research. Journal publication are mostly related to issue related to energy, direct foreign investment, economic growth, street economics, labor issue, conservation and wildlife, and also natural areas. Also, Mr. James write for local newspaper and internet news portal, holding two external appointments as a senior fellow and adjunct professor, Center for Strategic Policy and Government, Palawan State University, Philippines, and also adjunct professor and senior research fellow for Center for Local Government, University New England Business School, Australia. I think this is a very interesting topic because in general, we analyze the investment volatility in financial market, but Mr. Jim provide different analysis for us by looking at the volatility focused on foreign direct investment. I think without further ado, Mr. Jim Alin, the time is yours to present your paper on volatility foreign direct investment in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Mas Wahyu Widodo, very respected docent of Diponegoro, Universitas Diponegoro. It's a great honor for me to be invited as a guest speaker. I look forward to our fruitful discussion. I would like to have this session to be lively. Feel free to interrupt me. I prepare short slides so that we have plenty of time to discuss and interact. That will be nice. Anyway, I would like to say thank you to Universitas Diponegoro, located at the beautiful city of Semarang. I've been to Semarang many years ago. I would love to go again. I suppose if you invite me after COVID, we will see each other face to face, maybe.
We will invite you, Mr. James, to Semarang again and again. Beautiful
Welcome
city.
to Semarang.
Yes, Professor Dr. Suharnomo, the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Diponegoro. Also, my new learned friend, Mas Dr. Wahyu Widodo, the person who actually invited me He is the head of the Master of Economics program at the university, and through Pak Afrizal,
Yes.
we get to know each other. Unfortunately, Pak Afrizal is not joining us today because he got other engagement. But we will have another engagement some other time. I suppose we can meet again. All right. As I say, I prepare a small slide. Let me try to share here. Okay. Okay. You can see my slides.
Yes, we can see
Okay.
clearly.
Okay, very nice. All right. So as I was introduced by distinguished Professor Dr. Suharnomo, and of course my new friend Dr. Wahyu, I will talk about direct foreign investment, or usually we call FDI, and I will specifically discuss about volatility spillover and dynamic call movement between Malaysia, China, Japan, Singapore, and United States. Actually, this paper already published in last February in a journal called Quality and Quantity. So if you, I suppose, Mas Wahyu already sent you, email you a copy of my slides and also the paper.
Yes, we have delivered to the participant.
Excellent. So I look forward to your questions. You know, don't be shy. You can ask me things about in the paper. Okay. It's written by my colleagues, Professor Kogit, Asid, of course me, Professor Mulok, some 2 years ago. So 2 years ago. So for those of you who are thinking to join academic world, publishing is part of our life, and don't expect publishing process to be very easy. So it took us 2 years to get this paper published. So that's how competitive our world is, and that makes it exciting job. Yeah. Okay, so in the next 30 minutes or so, I will cover the following area. First, I'll give you an overview, FDI, and then we will look at the global trend a little bit. And then we go to a selected literature, what is available, what is known, what is not known in the area, in the research of FDI. After that, I will focus on the research gap. So what are things that we need to look into and we don't have answers yet? That's actually related to contribution, this small paper, what is the significance of this study within the literature. Yeah? And of course, I will outline the research questions. And after that, I will proceed to brief you on the data and the methodology. How is it different from the previous studies? And I will conclude my concluding remarks. Mostly, I will talk about the result of our hypothesis testing. And the most interesting part of our meeting is what next? Okay. Actually, today I have a mission. I want to sell this research topic to especially master and PhD students in this session. We have a PhD student, right, among us. But while you, we have a PhD and master student with us today?
Yes, PhD and master and also even undergraduate student. We open for all students to join to this
Excellent,
session.
excellent. Okay, and also I suppose there's also some member of the faculty joining us, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes. So my main mission today is to sell that why you should study this area and what is very exciting about it. Okay. Okay. First, like as I promised, okay, foreign direct investment or direct foreign investment, whichever you call it, actually is a form of capital. As you know, capital is one of the four inputs of production. But capital, when you look at the literature, they call it's just one of the variables in macroeconomics. Okay, mostly we talk about gross domestic capital formation. Okay, don't worry about these long words, technical words. It simply means capital. Yeah? And usually in the literature, we look at the ratio of FDI inflow. Okay, this is what the Professor Subarnomo mentioned just now, yeah, the importance of foreign direct investment to our capital formation compared to the other form, I'd say domestic direct investment, DDI. And another form is portfolio investment. Okay, I will talk about the difference between these three in a short while. Okay, for now, if you want to look at the data, for those of you, I suppose, will be interested to look at this area to do your master and PhD thesis, you need to be familiar with UNTAC, United Nations on trade and development. Yeah, trade and development. So you can look at the World Investment Report. So World Investment Report. There's also a country investment report. So if you were interested to know the time series of for Indonesia over the years, which country actually investing in Indonesia, you can go and look at Indonesia country investment report. As for Malaysia, we have a few sources. One is Malaysia Investment Performance Report is available online. Of course, the most popular site is as Mas Wahyu and other docent very familiar is World Bank. Okay, this is very helpful to us as a researcher. And in the World Bank, they divide, they include the FDI, DDI, and also portfolio when they list gross fixed capital formation. Okay, usually if you study macro, you want to know what is the percentage of gross fixed capital formation to GDP. Okay, and if you want to be specific, which one is bigger among the three, FDI, DDI, or portfolio? And this make a lot of difference, okay, in economic growth and also economic development. And another source to look at is Central Bank, Bank Indonesia in the case of your case, and here we have Bank Negara Malaysia, but they actually will give you a data on FDI according to economic activity. Okay, service sector, how many FDI in service sector, how many manufacturing, mining, agriculture, etc. All right. Okay, so the world of FDI is very big. It's one universe. So if you are a beginner, so you need to have some sort of a direction. Otherwise, you will be lost and drowned because it's too many information about FDI. There's a theory, there's empirical, and there is advanced frontier area like what we are now. But basically, when we talk about FDI, we refer to the host country. Host country is where that FDI located. Okay, like I say, FDI is one of the component of capital formation. The other one is DDI, domestic direct investment. As you already mentioned in the beginning, sometimes we care about the ratio of FDI inflow. We call it inflow because we refer to the foreign investment coming to our country. So inflow to GDP formation, GDP gross domestic capital formation. Okay, this is historical data just to give you a sense of history, what's happening, what kind of how big our FDI. Between 1971 to 75, Malaysia, 15% of our capital formation coming from FDI. And then after that, another 5 years, 76 to 80, 12%. And then the next 5 years, 11. And 12%, and then 25%. As you see, 91 to 94, this is before ASEAN currency crisis. Okay, these are very important exogenous shock to our economy, not only in Malaysia, but the entire ASEAN and some developed country in Japan and Singapore to a certain extent. Now you compare about the same period of time from 71 to 94. Singapore too, yeah. So you notice the percentage. Singapore 15%, 17, 18, 25 to 37%. It's very big. That means that the capital formation for Malaysia and Singapore, FDI is very, very important. Okay, not half, but that actually significant number. Yeah. Now, how about Indonesia? I'm talking about before currency crisis. Okay. Indonesia, you see, for about 5%, 3, 1, 2, and 5. This one I want to ask the docent at the Diponegoro Universitas, why Indonesia FDI contribution to capital formation is rather small. Is it actually still small after ASEAN crisis? This is a very interesting thing to look at. So in some contribution FDI to the gross domestic capital formation vary among ASEAN 5. You know what ASEAN 5 means, yeah? ASEAN 5, yeah? Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore. Vary means some, like I already show you, Malaysia and Singapore are significant, but Indonesia still small at the time. Yeah? Why is that? All right. Again, we talk about the inflow. Basically, in theory, FDI refer to cross-border transfer of technology and knowledge. It's also referring to the diversification, how we source our capital, essential for growth and development, and is also strongly related to development of financial market. Also, if you look at the theory of FDI, there's many theory. You can choose as you like. Pick whichever you like. There's like maybe 12 or 15 theories of FDI, but more or less they all agree that FDI is considered long-term capital flow. Is much more durable, lasts long, durable, and we suspect this is long time, since 1950. The people who study FDI suspected and assume FDI to be less volatile. Less volatile means it doesn't go up and down over a very short of time, very period of time. Is it true? Okay, we will find out in one small study we conducted. Okay, what is the main difference between FDI and portfolio? Portfolio is considered short-term capital flow, inflow. In the event of exogenous shock, external shock, like crisis, any form, currency or other type, you will observe there's a capital flight. Capital flight means this capital is running away like human being, they're leaving the country. like that. These are mostly portfolio investment. We don't expect FDI to just run away when there is a political instability, because they have factories, they have bank, they have building assets there, so they can simply just leave. Otherwise, portfolio investment like equity in stock, in share market, treasury bill or other type of bonds, they can simply disappear overnight. They can dump their share within a minute. Okay, that's why they are called short-term capital inflow. And we care about where that FDI came from, originated from. Like Professor Suharnomo mentioned in the introduction, FDI is welcome. Everyone welcome FDI. We want them to come and invest and do business in our country because there's no doubt about it. They generate income, their jobs, it promotes best labor practices, human rights. I think in Indonesia called HAM. Is that correct, Pak? HAM, human rights, yeah.
Yes. Hak asasi manusia.
Yeah, hak asasi manusia. Yeah. So I mean, you can think about many other good things about FDI, yeah. But if you are familiar with literature, there's also bad, terrible FDI. Okay, terrible FDI. But we will keep that issue for another day. Yeah, for another day. Yeah, if some of you will take this topic and you do your thesis, if you need someone to help you, you can email me anytime. I can help whichever I can. Yeah. Okay. Next. All right. Basically, FDI actually is the movement of capital, long-term capital. Usually, if you look at the global investment report or regional, it moves from developed country, richer country, high-income country, where capital are abundant, plentiful, towards developing or transition, economic in transition. So developing refer to low and middle income. So Malaysia is considered upper middle income based on GDP per capita. Indonesia is almost there, almost upper middle income. I think in the next maybe 1 or 2 more years time, if your politics stay that way, I think you will be there together with Malaysia and Thailand.
Yeah. Actually, Indonesia has reached lower middle income, but because COVID-19, Pak James, we drop again.
Exactly, but you are on the right path. Okay, you going to be there. It's a matter of when, not will you join them. Definitely we will join you. You will join upper middle income. And for those of you here, if you study international business, what were your faculty? You have a international business program?
Yes, in international business management. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have.
Okay, all right. So you will get familiar with FDI if you are in IB business, okay? Because IB is formulated, developed, evolved from the idea of foreign investment, okay? So the entire IB is about multinational corporation, or you can sometimes call multinational enterprises. It talk about competitive in the emerging market, and they say that international investors possess they have advantage because they own superior technology, superior management practices, and domestic business actually can and usually learn from them. So like this, yeah. So in general, that is summary of the theory of FDI. Yeah? Now let's go to the trend. Like I say, FDI actually is a cross-market transmission of capital related to geographical interdependence between FDI and also financial market. Actually is very co-integrated. It's an interdependence. Okay, so because we have FDI, host country like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore, we don't have to go to foreign market because we don't know foreign market. Therefore, we less vulnerable during the reversal, economic reversal, economic or financial crisis. So usually you can divide FDI into inbound and outbound. Okay, so inbound means McDonald's investing in Indonesia. Outbound is when Sinarmas or April Group, one of your biggest conglomerates in Indonesia, investing in somewhere else outside of Indonesia. So outbound, yeah. The phenomena of inbound and outbound actually alter. It can change the landscape of domestic capital market. In 2017, at the time when we wrote our paper, starting to write the paper, global FDI was amounting to 1.5 trillion, but it went down in 2018 into 1.3 trillion US dollar. In case you forgotten, trillion means 12 zero behind. That's how big it is. 12 zero behind. Yeah? Billion means 9. Yeah? This one for students. Yeah? Sometimes you confuse. Anyway, 2018 become 1.3 trillion. Okay, it mostly moved to developing and transition economies. Okay, transition economy refer to those country like USSR, some part of associate member of EU. These are transition economy. They are not yet. They between open market and from closed market to open market. So they called transition. Okay. All right. So the remaining of the 2018 inflow moved to United States, China, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So all the global inflow of FDI, that 1.3 trillion, actually mostly moved to these 4 developed country, rich country already. Okay, move to EU, another developed area of the world, reduced 50%. Okay, so means that in 2018, international investor like US, China, Hong Kong, and Singapore, but somehow avoided EU and North America, except for US. Okay, which means that Canada, North America simply means US and Canada. So they go to US, but they avoid Canada. This is interesting phenomena too. You can read this report, recent report to 2020. The trend not so far different. Now, how about Asia? Yeah, Asia was the biggest receiver of FDI flow. There was an increase about 4%. All of us, including Malaysia and Indonesia, we are ASEAN member. We are also part of the ASEAN Economic Community and AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Although we are very friendly, we are very close, brothers like that, but we compete to invite, to attract foreign investors. So we are competing, okay? So China, among Asia, China, there's of course, even if you don't look at the report, you know that many international investors going to China, even until this year. How about Southeast Asia? That's we are, okay? increased 11%, mostly to Thailand, and there Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam. This is a favorite of the international investors in 2018 and still today. Yeah, but less to Malaysia and Philippines. This one is interesting things. Yeah. Just now in the beginning, I talk about FDI in Malaysia and Singapore, very big, right? But now in recent years, you see less or already in Malaysia, they actually move away. Probably they move away and relocated to Indonesia, I think, some of them. Yeah. So like this is how I say, yeah, intra-ASEAN investment among us, ASEAN 5, we also invest into each other, okay? Our own homegrown companies, we invest in ASEAN 5 or Southeast Asia, yeah? So these are included, yeah? Okay, this is the literature for those of you who are beginner. So if you want to have textbooks reading, you can read Musa, Irshad Musa. So Musa actually wrote textbooks of overview of the entire FDI, quite recent book. This book, I have a copy of it, the e-book copy. If you want, I can share with you. We share. So what mostly this book focus on the following, okay? Despite the trade barriers, each country, we have our own trade barriers, no matter how free our economy is, because we have a domestic interest, we have to protect. Therefore, there is always a barriers. Okay? Barriers can be taxation or non-tax, non-tariff. Yeah? So the pattern, however, changed since 1980s. He also talked about the causes and the impact of FDI, particularly the ownership, okay, and what is a good thing about FDI to the host country. But he did not talk about what about the country of origins, okay. For example, McDonald's from United States, the franchise. Franchise is one form of FDI. We know that McDonald's in Indonesia and Malaysia provide job and income and contributing to growth. But at the same time, we also should know what actually that means to back in the United States. So this one he did not actually discuss. So you guys can look at it. It's quite fun. Another interesting work is by Albuquerque, Portuguese scholar. He talked about the importance of FDI among emerging markets. Emerging market, for example, yeah, Laos or Myanmar or Burma. Myanmar is now in the political turmoil, the big, difficult, troubled situation. Okay, that's example, yeah, emerging market. And many parts of Africa still emerging, not yet fully developed. Okay, so they all the important FDI among the emerging market. They link to the increase of the integration of the world capital market, particularly when they have financial reforms and also financial liberalization. Okay, you open up your financial sector. For example, Indonesia, before you get rid of Sukarno regime, your currency was pegged. It's a loose type of fixing your exchange rate. But after that, you have a democratic process. And then today you are actually convertible, your currency are convertible, you are actually very open in terms of trade openness. Yeah. So is Malaysia and the rest of ASEAN 5. Anyway, so they say the importance of FDI much more obvious when after the financial reform and liberalization. Okay, And all ASEAN 5 already gone through this liberalization of financial sector, including Malaysia and Indonesia. In general, the entire universe of this FDI literature, they talk about determinant, the determinant, causes and impact, the relationship across or between FDI inflow in developing and developed country are closely linked to their own financial markets. Financial market refer to stock, foreign exchange, and other assets, equity. This is the big questions within that literature that we don't have really complete answer. Say like this, if the trade relationship between country matter important for financial interdependence, for example, stock market interdependence, then there is a probability a similar pattern could repeat itself in the case of interdependence of FDI between countries. And just now I say the global inflow went to 4 major developed countries, United States included, Singapore and China. And these 4 actually is also happen to be our major contributor of our FDI in Malaysia. I'm not sure in Indonesia, but they are our top 4 FDI source. So we wanted to know if this is actually good or not good, and how. Now, related to our investigation is this. In 2007, long time ago, Pranhan used look at time series 1970, the one that I actually quoted in the beginning, until 2005, and they confirmed the existence of co-integration between FDI inflow to India, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong. If you notice, I put underline here, India and Malaysia, because the next study by Flora and Agrawal in 2015, that's about 8 years after that. Okay, 8 years after that, someone else look at the data again, but longer and different country. Okay, anyway, Pranham he said like this, can FDI inflow and its volatility into India be used to predict to predict FDI inflow to Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong. So if we know the volatility of FDI investment in India, then we can actually also roughly gauge or estimate the volatility of inflow into Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong. So they left that the questions, I mean, they said there's a co-integration, that market, FDI market actually co-integrated, but they're not really sure whether we can use it. Is it useful or not, that information? Okay, you can read their paper, it's also available online. Next, Flora and Agrawal in 2015 look at the FDI inflow to India, Malaysia, Thailand, and China. The time series much more recent that time, 1985 to 2011, and they too confirm using Johansson test. Some of you postgraduate student must attend econometrics, right? So you must be familiar with what is Johansson test. It's to one of the co-integration tests, popular one. I'm sure you already studied, isn't it, Pak Wayu? They already study, right?
Yeah, I think.
Excellent. Okay, and they actually look at the causality too. Pranham only look at the co-integration, a little bit of causality, and Flora and Agrawal look and found that FDI inflow into India, causality to FDI to Malaysia, to Malaysia, Thailand, and China. Okay, so again, they stop there. Plausible FDI inflow closely linked. Still big question there, because we who do empirical, right? We don't want to be to read too much into our result. Okay, we cannot say beyond what we beyond our data. Okay, we cannot like make a lot of conclusion, speculating like that. So they stop there. So next, okay, next, our study, our small contribution. Now, these are the research gap to look at this specific issue. So while Pranham look at India, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong, Agrawal look India and Malaysia again, but Thai but they don't look at Japan and Hong Kong. They look at Thai and China. Both of them actually employ linear model. As you know, Johansson co-integration and other type of tests, these are linear. Okay, linear simply a straight line, down sloping or not. Okay, straight line, linear. Linear is much more simple. Our world made of not only linear but also non-linear, and this is very difficult thing. We discover when we study, when we use this method. Very difficult. Anyway, so our paper Kogit et al. 2021, we look at Malaysia again, but this time we choose Singapore, Japan, China, and US. So as you notice, Pranham look at Singapore and Japan. Agrawal and Flora look at China, and we also look at China. Except our data, we include United States. I already mentioned Singapore, Japan, China, and the United States is our major source of FDI. At this moment too, still, I'm not sure in Indonesia. So that is your homework. And I would like for you to take this topic to look at Indonesia, how is the situation. So we employ multivariate gauge. Okay, I'm sure you're familiar what gauge mean. Multivariate model in BEKK. If you want to know the detail of BKK, you can read our paper. Otherwise, you can just open advanced econometric book and you can find it. And we look at we use DCC specification within non-linear framework. So as you notice, the first two paper who look into the issue use linear methods, techniques. We look the other way, okay? Because I say time series or our world, okay? Our world actually consists of not only linear but also non-linear, and that actually our small contribution, okay? Now, what are the things we want to investigate? Specific, we wanted to investigate. We want to shed some lights on the following questions. Okay, these are our research question. Is there any evidence of volatility spillover between FDI inflow to Malaysia, inflow to Singapore, Japan, United States, and China? Volatility spillover means if FDI in Malaysia is experiencing capital flight or they moving away over the years, less and less, or it actually there's a exogenous shock to them. So we should also expect the same FDI Singapore, Japan, United States, and China. Although we don't look at who actually invested in that 4 countries, okay? We don't look at that, but that's another dimension. But this is how. Okay, so next, what is the correlation pattern between Malaysia FDI inflow with the inflow to Singapore, Japan, USA, and China? Do this correlation increase over time? do this correlation become higher in time of financial crisis or after? Is a risk diversification strategy important for Malaysia? Because we already said in the beginning, we want foreign investors to come and build factory in our country because we want to have a diversified source of capital. Okay, as you say, Malaysia and Singapore once rely so much on FDI. We have our DDI and also portfolio, but we used to and still today not to that degree, but still important. Yeah. So is this diversification actually matter, and which country actually is the best source of investment for us using that data? Okay, this only true for that period of time. Yeah, the data. So the data we took it, of course, from World Bank. Again, many of you I think familiar. We need to convert into log rate of return and change. Otherwise, those numbers become too big. You get headache if you have 12 0 behind. So we need to log. Then we run a test. This test is test of normality. So we want to see whether that data normally distributed using Jacques Bera statistic test. This is just standard, yeah. All of that except for Malaysia and China, okay, normally distributed. And again, this is a standard procedure, yeah, in empirical work. You need to look at the unit root, stationary and non-stationary. You can use Perron, Philip Perron statistic test. So in our data, shows significant at first different level or 1%, if we say. If you want to look at the detail, okay, each country, you can look at the full paper. Yeah, this is just a summary. Yeah? The highest volatility value was for Japan during and after ASEAN currency crisis 1997 to 1999, and then there was another global crisis in 2008. If you remember, hopefully you already born by then, 2008. That time, major bank sector, big names, banks with 100 years of history collapsed during after 2008. So that too, yeah, captured in the time series. Yeah, the lowest volatility was for China. Okay, so what it means? Yeah, what does it mean? We need to look at the volatility values. Yeah? So if Japan is still our major contributor of FDI and is very volatile, means that it also affecting us, and we also will be affecting them. Likewise, otherwise for China, if China become our major FDI investor, then I mean, which is good. I mean, because they are less volatile, right? We don't want today we have a factory. After a few months, this factory closed and they move somewhere. They go bankrupt. Okay, so they just move somewhere. I mean, if they move away from Malaysia and go to Indonesia, it's good. It's just change of geographical location, right? This is what Dr. Wahyu is doing. I saw his paper on agglomeration and productivity. Yeah, that's another very exciting area to research. But I'm not very familiar with that literature. But maybe one day we can work on that together. Okay, like I say, we employ multivariate gauge model, BKK, and constant conditional correlation, CCC. Don't be intimidated by this technical term. You need to know what is the function on it. Okay, as you learn econometrics, many people are afraid of econometrics, but don't be. Okay, econometrics is just a tool. Don't get intimidated by equation. Yeah? Okay, anyway, so we use this multivariate gauge back and CCC and DCC to understand short-term movement and to detect the mechanism of volatility spillover over time. Okay, over time. This is a very complicated thing. Yeah, I tell you why is it complicated in the short while. Our method, yeah, we think that using non-linear framework is much more robust. Okay, why? Okay, what are the things that if we study using linear, we cannot actually observe very clear. Okay, these are first, non-linear actually able to examine all market simultaneously at the same time. Okay, so the same time, or you can do in pair. Malaysia, Japan, Malaysia, China, Malaysia, US, like that. Malaysia, Singapore. Or you can do at once from different direction. Okay, this is very exciting way to look at data. Yeah. So because we assume spillover and the correlation are the manifestation process for international news and information. You know what it means, what I say. Yeah? This is a very difficult sentence. It means that our capital market actually very sensitive. They call market sentiment. Okay, small news of a change of government will actually affect the capital, both portfolio and foreign direct investment. Domestic direct investment, not so. Okay, not so. But we care about how our FDI affected by whether our stock exchange crash or going down or not. Yeah, because stock exchange here in Kuala Lumpur or in Jakarta actually is the heart, the beating heart of the economy. Okay, if the heart is weak, the body or economy is weak. If it's strong, it's strong. Okay, we don't want to be too strong because you can have a hypertension. you don't want to be too weak because you will have a low blood pressure. Yeah, no good. You need to be not good, not too high, not too low, like Goldilocks, they say. Okay, MGACH actually use this information across the whole variance. Variant mean the different, yeah? And covariance together, yeah? The different together. Matrix error to estimate, to give a reliable estimation of the parameters. Okay, the parameters is very simple. In our case, yeah, FDI, yeah? And the rest of that variables, yeah. MGACH also estimate, this is much more detailed, estimates the time varying correlation and the relationship between volatility and co mean together volatile at the same time or different place in different financial market and different country. Why is it complicated like this? Yeah? Something can happen to FDI the same time, but different country, or it can happen different time at the same country. Okay, this is interesting, but complicated about the time series. Yeah. All right. I almost the end of my presentation. Okay, bear with me in the next 10 minutes or so. So this is the conclusion, our result of our hypothesis testing. Our hypothesis is only very simple. Volatility spillover from Malaysia to other country and vice versa. Okay, from Singapore, China, US, and Japan. So we want to know just that, the direction. Yeah? So for Malaysia and Singapore, Malaysia and Japan, Malaysia and China, after we run the what test, we found that it's bidirectional volatility spillover. Malaysia inflow actually are affected by market behavior in Singapore, Japan, China, and the US. Remember in the beginning I say, which one had the highest volatility values? Japan. Which one is the lowest volatility value? China. How about Singapore and the US? This one is interesting. So for Malaysia and US, it's actually one way, unidirectional, from US to Malaysia. Okay, that volatility spillover. Yeah. So we consider robustness of the result. This is also typical of the simple empirical. We run diagnostic tests for robustness of that result. Is it reliable or not, believable or not? Okay, robust. Okay, that's what we use. Diagnostic test. Yeah, for auto regression, also for the issue of heterosedacity. Yeah, this is a typical terms. Yeah, auto correlation, heterosedacity, or multi-coloniality. These things you need to be familiar when you study econometrics. So the dynamic movement of FDI relationship between Malaysia and Singapore, Japan, China, and US, although they vary over time. That's why we call it dynamic correlation. Yeah, but it was found that there was a weak correlation between Malaysia and Singapore, Malaysia and Japan. Okay, so Malaysia, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, weak correlation. Yeah, which means Malaysia market probably we think maybe this is open. You should contest this. Okay, Malaysia market is less aligned with Singapore and Japan. Yeah, we're not sure. Yeah, but we just maybe. And for Malaysia, Singapore, Japan, look like benefited for diversification of international portfolio. We need to look at more data and more country maybe to answer that question. Just now I say about the weak, mostly negative correlation between Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan. Strong one is between Malaysia, China, and US. Okay, what it means? Yeah, I say just now China less volatile, but there's a strong correlation between Malaysia and China, Malaysia and US. So does it mean there's a strong alignment between Malaysia market and between Malaysia, China, and US? Then again, that's an open and contested notion. Yeah? You should cast doubt. Okay, you should find a data and try to run whether you can actually reject that hypothesis. Okay. Anyway, so high correlation in this context simply means, okay, don't get lost into the detail. That correlation simply means high correlation between two market, FDI market, simply means there's an increase of market volatility. Why do we care about whether that FDI market volatile or less volatile? Because it means a loss, okay, loss to investors, loss to the country, the host country, many things. Yeah, if you imagine, if for whatever reason McDonald's closed shop all over Indonesia or Malaysia, how many people lose job and income, and of course I will miss sitting and dining in at McDonald's, my favorite instant food. I'm sure it's also yours. So far, Malaysia and Indonesia, we don't have our own domestic homegrown similar strong as KFC and McDonald's.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you become entrepreneur and open one and will compete with them. You know, in the Philippines, although Philippines is not included in our study, Philippines has very strong domestic homegrown instant food. Okay, very strong, and they're competing even better than McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. So one day Indonesia will have it. I think you have a big number of population. Okay, very clever people, many clever people there. Okay, so not clear if the correlation between this market has increased over time. Looking at the data, we must say, be very cautious that there's no clear indication whether that trend of increase is stay there. Okay, not not that during that short period of time. And like I say in the middle of my presentation, we can only say certain things are related to our data. Okay, we cannot say what is beyond, and what more to say that concluding that our result actually is going to be true for the future. Not so. Okay, not so. If that is the case, then we don't have to do much of work, right? We can just look historical data and we know what's going to be in the future. So, but that's not happening. Yeah. Okay. The degree of correlation. This is my concluding remark. The degree of the correlation imply to what extent the FDI inflow or the market are integrated with each other. You can say that in the grand scheme of things, the type of study we conducted actually is kind of a cost benefit of having diversified portfolio of FDI. Okay, you prefer to have multiple countries to invest in Indonesia or in Malaysia, rather than one or two very strong and the rest not so. So this is actually looking at the cost and the benefit. Okay, as you know, if you know the volatility, if you know that strong or weak correlation between the two or one and the rest, then you can actually use it to guide your policy, industrial policy. Attracting foreign direct investment actually is part of our industrial policy. I think for both Malaysia and Indonesia, we have a quite a long history of believing in our industrial policy. Yeah? We want, we cannot decide who is coming, but we want to give them incentive as much as possible. Like I say, ASEAN 5, we are actually competing with each other. We are competitors, but we also work together at different level. That is ASEAN initiative, okay? Also for investment, yeah. And so, in the end, you would see by looking at this data whether there's convergence of FDI market, Malaysia and the rest, the other four, whether there's an indication of convergence. Mean we getting closer to the trend in Indonesia or in China, or not. Okay, so I think hold on, yeah, stop sharing. Okay, so what next? Okay, what next? As you probably noticed, I told you in the beginning, I have a mission. I want to make you interested to do this research, because we don't know much about Indonesia in recent 1 or 2 decades. What is the situation of FDI? Who is investing? Whether there's a trend of increase for a particular country or decrease. Okay, which country is that? Okay, that is not yet known. So this is your opportunity to publish. Okay, to look at, and the data is available for you to use. Okay, you just go to World Bank Data Bank or IMF or International Financial. You can actually get them pretty easy, yeah? And it's quite good data. Together with me today, actually, I have 2 PhD students, Marcela and also Khairunisa. Marcela is doing a PhD on beverage curve, the relationship between unemployment and job vacancies. And Khairunisa maybe will look at debt to GDP ratio situation. Okay, where is the threshold? You know, this kind of thing. So so you can maybe, and those of you master and PhD student at Diponegoro, you can actually have new friends with them because they already finished their master degree. Maybe one day, who knows, right? One day maybe they become docent in Diponegoro. I don't know, because our world is co-integrated, and we are, we are one. Okay, I can work in Indonesia. Indonesia people can work at UMS. We are like FDI kind of thing. Okay, so with that, I think I would like to open this floor to some discussion. Please, you can write. If you're shy, you can write on your chat. But were you? We have a questions already.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. James. How I call you, James or Alin?
That's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, I call you James. Thank you very much for interesting presentation. So because you provide analysis for foreign direct investment rather than portfolio investment, I try to search or to browse in internet, and majority empirical analysis on this issue is talking about portfolio investment rather than foreign direct investment. So this is very, very interesting. Okay, now we give to the floor respected participant to give a response. Any comment or question? You can put your question in the chat box or directly to Mr. James by raise your hand. Okay, let me check the chat box. There is still no question, but actually there are some question, but direct message to me. So direct message to me. So I have to read for you, Mr. James. The first question is regarding the spillover. How to measure spillover in this research? Because spillover in many concepts seems like a black box. So how to measure the spillovers in this research, Mr.
Okay. Well, like what you say just now, our literature is full of investigation on portfolio, financial market. Well, financial market, be it in Jakarta or in Singapore or in Kuala Lumpur, actually co-integrated, there's no question about it. Simply means that definitely there's a volatile spillover. One going down, the capitalization go down, it will bring down the rest. Say in the case of FDI, FDI go down over 1 or 2 years in Malaysia. The spillover should also be visible in the country where that FDI coming from. Like I say, Japan, China, Singapore. Yeah. So I mean, one down, the rest also down. Okay, it's like they somehow behaving like one. Yeah, co-integrated. Yeah? So one down, also down. We care about what the trend of going down. Yeah? We're going up, we are happy. Yeah? If you notice, if you study Malaysia economy, this month, our federal government, the table budget. Budget is a fiscal planning. After the budget, our Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange actually big reaction. Usually after budget, because state federal government actually announced spending okay, to run the country, spending taxpayer money. Usually market are happy. right? But not in our case. You can read about it on the internet. Okay, right after the table, Prime Minister, our new Prime Minister table our federal budget, our KLSE, Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange, and other market that we are related to, didn't crash but went down very much. The same amount of, how much our budget in ringgit, in ringgit about 330 billion ringgit. That is about, you divide by 4 to get US dollar, about today 60, around 60 billion US dollar. You don't compare with Indonesia, okay? Indonesia budget very big because Indonesia big country. we have about 34 million people. You have how many? 200, 70, 80
Yeah,
million.
270.
So what I'm saying is, after the budget, the fiscal planning, our stock exchange went down the same amount as the one that federal government wanted to spend, 300 billion ringgit in just 3 days. Okay, went down. That capitalization went down. The value of the traded value of the stock went down. That actually, like I say, capital market means yes, capital market actually like blood of the economy. So it's also affecting our FDI. Okay, I say just now after 2018, FDI from all other foreign country to Malaysia, actually there's a sign of the less and less and less. Means that those people who already here in Malaysia actually leaving. Okay, leaving. There's a actually capital flight. Yeah, for the this decade and the last decade, we experienced many capital flight. Capital flight not only short term but also long term. It means that FDI actually closing down. I give you an example, a very big one. There's a company, British company called Dobson. Dobson produce electronic goods, very big one worldwide. Okay, they also popular in Indonesia. You go to electronic shop, you look for brand called Dobson. They had a FDI large operation in Malaysia, a long time already, with 20 years time. They've been here. They have a factory. They employ thousands of people. Very recent, okay, they decided to divorce the local partner. I mean, they say bye bye. You are on your own. I don't want to do business with you, and I'm leaving. Where they went, I don't know. Maybe they went to Indonesia or Thailand. But this is sad, you know. You know why? Not only because of that capital flight I mentioned to you, but also there's another issue, yeah, because the partner, Atai, ATTAI, this is a local company that joint venture with Dobson, was found to violated human rights. Okay, they are very cruel to foreign workers. This is what I say. Not all FDI are good. You know, so we welcome them, and we don't know about them, so we need to test. Okay, you come, you open factory, see how you do. If you are no good like this, Atai is not foreign company, it's a Malaysian company. Dobson, British company. British company say, I don't want to do human rights violation. I'm not part of it. This is no good for my business, business ethics. Then this other FDI issue, other like this. Another one, I give you example. How to measure volatility simply by looking at the downturn. Okay, the downturn. Okay, one down, all down, or one down, some market down, some not affected. That's what we want to know. Yeah, and it matter to know whether that spillover, to where is that spillover coming from, and where our trouble can spread to. Okay, our trouble can spread to, which one is most correlated to us. That's a simple question. Yeah. So our trouble correlated to not all the 4 countries that we look at. Okay, so it means that from the investor viewpoint, they also want to know. For example, Chinese company, they want to open factory in Malaysia. They want to know, okay, I'm less volatile, but am I correlated to your market or not? If I'm correlated, I'm not thinking I don't want to open factory here. I go open in Jakarta lah, in Semarang, you know, like that. So Semarang is near to the port, ya Pak.
Yeah, Semarang have a port, but there are some new port in Java that close to Semarang.
I see.
Such
you
as
have
Kendal, that this is joined with the Singapore. Kendal Industrial Park, now become special economic zones.
Yes. So I mean, you think about it. For Chinese investor viewpoint, they want to know. Okay, I open factory within your industrial zone and free trade. Free zone, free trade zone. What about if something happened to your market? Because once I open my factory, I have building and I've employed thousands of people and blah blah and many other things. I am not freely to bye tomorrow. I take my bag and go. Cannot. So this is a huge commitment. So the important to know this correlation and also this integration, co-mobility, co-volatility. Okay, dynamic. Okay, the dynamic, not static. Yeah? Important. So for Indonesia, I think it's the same. We can actually, I suggest you guys, master or PhD student, to look at Indonesia. I suspect it should be similar. Yeah, it's a very strong tendency. Yeah, because Indonesia economy and Malaysia economy, we have many similarities. Yeah, we export similar things, all kind of all sectors, similar. At one time, Japanese company operate in Malaysia, Indonesia, and the rest of ASEAN. For example, Toyota produce automobile parts in Jakarta and somewhere in Indonesia, and they bring it to Malaysia and assemble, put them together, become one car, or vice versa. So we actually co-integrated in that way too. Yeah, but this is different area of research. Okay, we just look at the figure, time series only. We don't go into the detail. You can write the textbooks. Yeah, we can write the textbook together. Malaysia, Indonesia, FDI. That will be fun. I hope I answered that question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jim, for comprehensive explanation. There is a question in the chat box, Pak Jim, from Retno Sugiyarti. I think I know Retno. Retno is one of our alumni. Now become a lecturer in one university here. The first question regarding the was there really no previous paper that used non-linear framework before yours? And the second, what do you think about relation between labor market and foreign direct investment volatility spillover? Is there any current issue related to this? So please.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Retno, for your questions about nonlinear methodology. To answer the question of volatility spillover and dynamic, movement, of FDI between countries. Yes, actually, since our publication in February, I have not seen only in English. Okay, I have not looked at other language, Indonesia language or Chinese or Japanese language. I have not looked at the literature, but I have not seen anyone who actually use non-linear. But must remember non-linear technique actually being used in other investigation. Another area where non-linear is new, which we also contributed, is on energy. Energy. This one, I think, Pak Wahyu know this topic very well about the Kuznets curve. Kuznets curve, of environmental and growth. He is expert. We actually wrote, also published sometime, I think last year maybe, I forgot, about energy consumption. Energy consumption. So we use non-linear method also. But you know, the truth is, after we use non-linear for maybe about 4 or 5 empirical studies, there's some part of it different, interesting. It give you a different perspective, but generally actually is confirming to linear framework. So how say? That's why I say our world consists of both linear and non-linear. So if you're very familiar with financial finance, in finance we have a efficiency hypothesis market. Okay, EHM efficiency hypothesis of the market. They say these are neoclassical, like I forgot the name. Hypothesis, efficiency hypothesis. You say market, including FDI market and portfolio market, is efficient. That's why you have crashes, crisis. They actually adjusting. The market actually is fixing itself. But another Nobel. Okay, just now the efficient market hypothesis won a Nobel. I forgot the name. You can Google. Another very recent, Shiller, Robert Shiller, and other guy actually say no. You have to look at the market. What if they are not actually efficient? Random walk. Okay, random walk. So our small contribution is the same. Okay, some people look at FDI as a linear, but we think there's also space to give a different dimension, different angle that is non-linear. Non-linear. If you familiar, they say black swan. there's a black swan element in FDI too. Not only stock market is unpredictable. Although we have some evidence that market is very efficient, and also evidence to say equal amount that they are random walk, long term, in long run. Okay. Next question is okay. But before I go to second question, it will be nice if some of you learn non-linear method. Non-linear method. Maybe we can arrange some online training or something. That will be very nice. Some PhD student can take this challenge to do non-linear. One of my student, Marcilla, actually maybe will use non-linear combined with linear. So Indonesia, not yet decided, but I have another student, Tang actually is using non-linear to study energy, related to what Pak Wahyu is doing. Okay, that curve, is it inverted U, or is it an N, is it a W over time? So we want to know, and where is the threshold? One thing about non-linear, we actually can estimate quite accurate the threshold of things. Threshold. So if you want to know that if I read somewhere, many people talk about budget deficits of Indonesia become bigger and bigger and bigger. They say, ordinary understanding, when you're borrowing too much means nothing good about it, but it's not necessary so, yeah. So we need to use non-linear method to find out where is the threshold, okay? Where is the threshold? It's possible, yeah. That's a good thing about non-linear, and slightly it will take some time for you to get used to non-linear, but it's not more complicated than linear, because linear also we have a lot of advanced. We advance so much in econometrics that I don't know. When we use econometrics, right, we think that there is no end to it. Things become clearer and clearer over time. When I started working as a docent at university long ago in Japan, our econometrics was very primitive. Primitive. I helped my professor to write paper, very primitive, But now it's very advanced, and we know a lot of things, and make it very exciting. And future Nobel, okay, maybe will come from Indonesia. Who knows? Indonesia has many econometricians. I know them. Some of them I know them personally. Is a good friend. They're very good. They wrote the textbooks also, which I use in my class. Also non-linear. So these are good development. Okay, next question. What do you think about the relationship between labor market and FDI volatility? Oh, yes. Okay, labor. Definitely FDI. If FDI is volatile, let's say in the case of our small work, China, our big investor, also China is also receiving a lot of FDI back home in China, because China, for the past 3 decades, experiencing remarkable economic growth. They freed many hundred millions of people from poverty. Means that part of it because they also receive higher and more FDI. So China, although still relying on domestic direct investment, but still, if you compare to that amount to what we have in Malaysia, it's so small. Malaysia is very, very small. Our FDI is very small. Yeah, it used to be very big. Yeah, used to be very big. But after crisis, it stay. Then very recent, after 2008, gone down. Since now also not so big anymore. Of course, FDI employ thousands of people. It will be difficult to imagine Malaysia economy or Indonesia economy without those FDI. Okay, it will be difficult. Yeah, if that FDI less volatile, like in the case of China, that will be good. But if it's very volatile, like Japan, that is quite very scary. Yeah. So that's why we need to know who is investing most in Indonesia in the last 10 years or so. Yeah, what do I think about relationship? This relationship is very strong. It's correlated, and also I think causality too. These are a very popular area of research. The relationship between FDI and labor market, whether FDI can actually help a country to solve unemployment problem. Okay, in the long run, definitely yes. The answer is yes. To what extent and what kind of job is created by FDI? Just now I mentioned about Dobson and Atai, that very recent trouble FDI here in Malaysia. Thousands of people retrenched, okay, because Dobson quit doing business in Malaysia. They say, I will go back to England and I will leave you until you fix things. Okay, you put your house in order. Don't no longer cruel to foreign workers. Oh, mention about foreign workers. We have many foreign workers because our economy is full employment. Everyone knows what full employment means. That we don't have enough. We already make use of our labor and the rest of the input of production. Okay, we make use to near to the potential. Yeah? And because of that, we have a severe shortage of labor. That's why foreign labor, including from Indonesia, and this another area always become, I would say, thorns in the flesh. We always like have a friendly argument. Malaysia, Indonesia. Malaysia sometimes slow taking action against abuse of Indonesian workers. Then Indonesia people say, hey, this is no good. We don't want to send workers to Malaysia. You know, like this, you know. So these are political stuff, but it matters. So those foreign workers, including from Indonesia, work for FDI, with FDI, yeah. So definitely, yeah. So because Japan more high volatile, if we have many FDI, Japanese FDI here in Malaysia, whatever happened here and whatever in Indonesia, in Japan, will go together. Yeah, we'll go together. We go down together, right? And which means will be mostly unemployment will be created here. Of course, Japan economy is very strong. They are very well. They are rich, so they can actually absorb and look after unemployment, temporary unemployment. But the upper middle income country like Malaysia, with about $12,000 per capita, we cannot afford to absorb this unemployment. Okay, if it's a long spell of unemployment. Okay, temporary like structural, moving from labor intensive to capital intensive, we can actually pay for social adjustment. Those workers used to work for Dobson and Atai can actually eventually will be engaged and they will get a job given enough time, especially those still young. Maybe those people who near to retirement may be hard, but they will find a job, but takes time. So yes, volatility matters when we think about whether we have jobless people, many jobless people. Oh, mention of jobless people. Just now, Dean, Professor Suhartono said about COVID. Okay, we've been in this COVID situation for 2 years already. Malaysia GDP actually shrunk. Okay, in 2020, our GDP shrunk a lot. Okay, a lot because we had a lockdown similar to in Indonesia. A lot. We had a very strict lockdown the beginning of 2020. That lockdown cost us 6 billion ringgit in a day for 3 months. Lockdown and curfew means you're not allowed to go anywhere and except certain essential sector. And then we also had another not so strict lockdown this year, early this year. That actually cost us per day 300 million ringgit per day. So that means in 2020, our GDP shrunk, reduced a lot, and that including FDI, of course. Okay, FDI. So many international company now struggling to start, because we just opened in November. Before that, a lot of interruption. That's why you see commodity price become high price because of less production. Well, it's good for producers, but not good for consumer. You know, these are trade-off. But what I'm saying is,
I think good for
uh,
Indonesia, Pak Jim.
yes. Yeah, especially petroleum, palm oil, other sector. Yeah. So these two very high price now, all-time high. It's good for us. Oil, both petroleum can also palm oil producer like Malaysia and Indonesia. Good for us because that will give us extra income. That extra income can help our partner, the FDI partner, yeah. Because I say just now, Dobson partner with local company, and we should help them. They need money to make sure they will have a good labor practice. No longer abuse your workers. Okay, we need to make them understand. If you treat your foreign workers better, your productivity will be higher. Just common sense. Okay, common sense. Yeah? But sometimes in reality, it doesn't work that way. Yeah? As you notice. Yeah. I hope I answered that question, Paretno. Did I answer your questions?
Okay, I think there is a response from Retno in the chat box. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Pak Jim, for the explanation. Okay, Bapak Ibu, you can give the question actually in Bahasa. I'm forget to introduce that Pak Jim is very fluent in Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, but it's okay. You can give your question in Bahasa, and I can translate for Pak Jim, or even Pak Jim directly will respond. But there is still others question, but this is also direct message to me. I don't know why this is direct message to me, so I have to read for you, Pak James. The question is regarding the policy implication of this study, because we are not talking about not only technical aspect from this estimation, but I think we need to look further regarding the policy implication, specifically in attracting foreign direct investment to Malaysia.
Okay, there's two things about the whole discussion today. One, we want to know, because FDI host country and also country of origins, okay? These two sides of the coin. If I say China invests in Malaysia, and also China is also receiving investment, not necessarily from us, but from the rest of the world. So what two things is that? Yeah. First, we want to know whether the market in China is having highest volatility or not. That's matter, yeah. That's very important information. So that you actually can spend money to bring investment from China, because you know China less volatile. Okay, when I say this is a general conclusion, maybe if you look at the sector, some sectors from China, let's say manufacturing, maybe less. Construction sector from China maybe more, but on average, FDI market in and from China much less volatile value during that period of time we look at. Likewise, Japan. So Japan is very high volatility given that period of time. So which means that for policy maker, for example, Ministry of International Trade in Indonesia, so if you want to spend money to attract, to go abroad, to promote Indonesia as a destination of FDI on all sectors, so you need to know this, where the volatility is, okay? So when you go to Japan, it's the same, okay? Because you know, on average, Japan is high volatility. You look at which sector is less This is very specific guidance too, because before this, we actually don't know, and we just say, okay, I like Japan. The Malaysia say, we look East policy, means that whatever Japan say, you come here. If you're from Japan, I give you land, I give you labor, I even help you, I don't tax you. Everything you give, I treat you like a king because you bring cash. Okay, this is before, yeah, when I was a graduate student like you, yeah. We don't know. Okay, we say, Mahathir time, Mahathir, if you know, our prime minister last time, and he become second prime minister of recent years. He say, we look east, we learn from Japan and Korea. So that means whatever Korea and Japan come invest here is all good, because we don't know that facts about volatility. Okay, the same our policy with China, because China very aggressive. Okay, China built Silk Road initiative, you know, including in Indonesia also they have this. In China is like octopus, tentacles are everywhere. Yeah? So we need to know, yeah, we need to know which part of that FDI from in China contributed to that higher, the lowest volatility, yeah? But in general, less volatile. And Singapore, US, in between, yeah. So in between these two extreme. And another aspect is that I say correlation. Yeah? That correlation, which country FDI actually correlated to us? Okay, strong or weak? The same in the case of Indonesia. If you know your market, FDI market strongly correlated with US. Wow, that's you need to be very careful. Correlated mean if US trouble, you too trouble. you cannot escape. Yeah, and the same if you are in trouble, they also in troubles. But you know, the trouble, if Indonesia in trouble, let's say political, it will affect in the states. They will feel that effect. But United States is richer than us, therefore they can actually withstand it. Okay, they can withstand like 2008 financial meltdown. United States can withstand, Hong Kong, Singapore can withstand, but Malaysia and Indonesia cannot, because we suffer so much. We about to recover from 2008, that's a long time ago. Then come COVID. Well, COVID affect everyone. Okay, so it will be interesting to look at the data, including COVID years, these 2 or 3 years time. Okay, how is the situation? I think must be similar to what we found after ASEAN crisis, financial currency crisis, 1998 and beyond, and also after, during and after 2008 financial meltdown. Yeah. So that is actually our contribution to policymaker. So we can tell them precisely who you should invite, who you should invite and what, okay, and how. Okay, no like blindly. Okay, go China. Okay, we spend trillion of dollar to just to invite them and to prepare for them. Okay, and we don't tax them, because the longer you don't tax FDI, the more revenue you have to let go. Of course, you say you don't tax, but they give job. That's good. What if they employ foreign workers? Like in Malaysia, we don't tax them, but they employ foreign workers. That means, I mean, it's good. Foreign workers work and they get salary and income. Well, in that sense, yeah, maybe domestic interests maybe at stake there sometime, but you know, that's another area to look at. Any question from the student? I would like to hear your student.
Okay, respected participant, please raise your hand to give question for Mr. James. Sorry if my background is a little bit noisy because some part of the building under construction. Okay, but okay, Pak James, I have one question. How about political aspect regarding foreign direct investment in Malaysia? Is it crucial or is it okay?
Yes, that's a very interesting and controversial area. Yeah? Like I say, one reason why we use non-linear framework is that non-linear is so sensitive, yeah? As a test. It's so sensitive that actually we can actually see news and information actually incorporated into the market reaction. Okay, like I said, right after our new Prime Minister table our budget, our KLSE, Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange, really almost crashed 300 billion, okay, with 90 missing in 3 days time. And still now, our KLSE is not yet recover. It's still like down and down, a little bit up here and there, but still it's not good, not performing goods until already 2 weeks time, 2 weeks after our budget. That's only budget. I'm not talking about because our political situation, as you notice, if you follow our politics, after election, last election, 2020 election, they changed prime minister. First prime minister lasted only less than a year, and then his own colleague toppled, coup d'etat, so took away his post, and today we have the same prime minister, and definitely political instability. We are not actually enjoying political instability like Indonesia today. Under your current president, very popular president, your political landscape is very stable and calm, yeah, calm, yeah, and it's very important. That is actually very important for if we're thinking about providing space for FDI and also portfolio. Yeah, they look at it. Okay, they look at it. So because in our case, we changed prime minister, market reacted, market punish us, okay, punish the entire nation, okay, because there's a political struggle on the top at the federal level. The market punishment is called capital punishment. Yeah, capital punishment. Yeah, that's the words. Yeah, capital punishment. So we were punished before, yeah, during previous prime minister in the last election and the last 2 election. We also experience capital flight because of political uncertainty. So political uncertainty here, if you look at the correlation, so because our market correlated with that those countries, yeah, that means that if we are affected, they also will feel that effect, but because they are developed country, like I say, they are able to withstand, survive, because they have resources to absorb that shock, okay, exogenous shock, and and always, yeah, in the event of political instability, the foreign partner, they have option. Yeah? Like I said just now, Dobson, that British company, yeah, when something no good here, they can only say, okay, I need to leave, I'm leaving you, okay, like a divorce. Like they are married, right? They get married as a couple, and Atai is the wife become abusive, the husband said, no, I'm leaving you, I will divorce you. If you become better after a few years, maybe we talk about it, I can see how. So they have option, yeah? But local company, they are here, so if they will be affected and they will be at loss. Okay, they will be losing unemployment, income, and everything else that they built. Okay, and that Dobson brand they built for the past more than, I think, almost 3 decades. I think they're here in Malaysia. So they build that their market. To talk about Japan, how Japan affected by political situation. I give you in retails. In retails, we have a big Japanese-owned retail here called Cost Mammoth. Cost Mammoth, I think, operating in Indonesia too. The symbol is elephant. They sell furniture, electronics, and everything on credit. Bigger than Matahari. Matahari is small. They're very big. This Cost Mammoth, the symbol of elephant, they actually have a big operation in Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and I think I'm not sure in Thailand. But so when we had a political issue, so they too, okay, they actually were affected. Not so much of in Japan, but they were affected here because they based in Singapore. So they actually cut the operation and move the top management to Singapore and keep small team in Kuala Lumpur to monitor Indonesia market and also Malaysia and Brunei market. Yes, political landscape and stability is very important.
Okay, thanks, Pak James. Salman, please. There is one of our student, I think, and just graduate from our program. You can go directly to Pak James. Your question.
Silakan.
Okay. Oh, silakan. Thanks a lot for the time. Hello, Mr. James. We know that FDI have a role important in economic growth, maybe, and many purpose to transfer technology and about opening labor market or bridging of saving investment gap. So how to attract FDI is important. Pak Wahyu say about political side, and I want to ask you about the institutional problem, like maybe like corruption or bribe. I have read several journal. So corruption, there are two perspectives in investment. One is corruption as a grease, and other side corruption as a sand. Corruption, it is decreasing FDI because increasing cost of capital. But in transition economics, maybe corruption as a grease, because with corruption more efficient than official jalur for FDI in developing countries, maybe. How about your perspective corruption in FDI? Thank you.
Okay,
Terima kasih.
Pak James, yeah, the question regarding institutional aspect, I think, and he put emphasis on the effect of corruption on foreign direct investment. Sometimes corruption have a negative effect, but in transition economy maybe have positive, such in maybe developing countries. So how about your perspective on this issue?
Terima kasih, Mas Salman. Yeah, I agree with you that corruption, all type of corruption, okay, from petty, small one to big one. Malaysian politicians are very well known to involve in embezzlement of the public fund, corruption at the highest level. Our corruption is not at the police at the road, okay, or at the airport immigration. Our corruption is by Prime Minister. He used to be our Prime Minister, yeah? So he is now facing trials, prosecution. Najib, Prime Minister Najib. So that's our symbol of corruption. Not that we are proud of it, but yeah, indeed, corruption actually is a sand. Is like throwing a sand into the wheel of economy. Yeah, I think it's also true to all type of all country, yeah, all different level of development. Developing country, transition, also in developed country, corruption is simply bad. Okay, I'm not sure, not because of my personal bias, but I think all empirical evidence to show there's nothing good about corruption. Even if, okay, even in the transition economy that some people think maybe that corruption is become a grease to make that machine to work smooth. Okay, minyak pelincir, we call it. Indonesia call what? Minyak pelincir, ya.
Minyak pelicin kalau di Indonesia.
Yeah, minyak pelicin.
Little bit different.
Yeah. So, so I think, yeah, corruption at all type of corruption, different magnitude, degree, big or small. Very hard to say they can become a grease to make things smooth. Maybe in the short run, in the, you know, if you just for between the two individual who is involved in the corruption, maybe it's kind of a transaction, yeah. It's a trade, okay. The one that give corruption, the one that receive corruption, both actually agreed to the price, just like you buy things, yeah. The buyer and the seller of the corruption, of course, they are better off just that, yeah. But there is actually welfare reduction there. Okay, if you look at rent, okay, rent, because corruption exists because there's economic rent. Yeah? So usually, if you buy and sell things, yeah, or goods, the size of the consumer and producer surplus are most equal. Okay, but in the case of corruption, it's not so. Okay, because there's other part of it, yeah, other part of the surplus, both producer and consumer, yeah. That is a social cost. Okay, the social cost of corruption is way too big, and because of that, we say corruption of any form, obvious corruption or not obvious corruption, hidden corruption, actually reduce welfare, reduce welfare. In Pareto, yeah, Pareto welfare improvement, no Pareto welfare improvement, and also no in the from we talk about Hicks neoclassical dividing consumer and producer surplus. Also, yeah, it violates the principle of welfare improvement, yeah, at all charges. Yeah. On the first proposition, second, and the third proposition, corruption reduce welfare. Well, I know, I'm aware also of the literature that actually saying good things about corruption. That's because they select their data. This is dangerous in do empirical, you know. When you form your opinion, you form your, you already set your thinking. You have a natural bias. You think, never mind, I give this policeman some money so I can go to work, you know. So who is going to win? Who going to lose? I go to work, policeman get some coffee money, so what? You say, right? 1%. But we are not looking in economy. We don't look at just one interaction. We look at aggregate. So that small parts is not the same as the sum. Okay, the small part probably sometime different place may be beneficial to both of them, but it's not beneficial to the society at large. Okay, because if you bribe a policeman and you can escape traffic jam, let's say, whatever reason police traffic can allow you to go fast. Okay, good for you. But how about other people who not able to have the same freedom? Okay, so you deny them. You are paying your excess, fast excess, traffic jam excess, but at the expense of social disconvenience. Okay, and if everyone is paying the police to have access to less congestion, eventually you are no longer well off. It's a question of who is paying who is paying how much and how high. So it become a never-ending equilibrium. Okay, you pay high, I can pay higher too. You pay low, no pay low, but it become a bidding. You bid like an auction or corruption. How can you say it's good? If no corruption in the beginning, if that corruption can be prevented, everyone no need to spend that much money. Okay, all people, everyone can pay equal amount of money to have access of that congestion. So these are logical explanation also as why corruption at any level, at any kind, or in any for any level of development, developing, transition, or developed country is no good. I look at those people who say it's a minyak pelincir. Minyak pelincir, I think because they select the data to confirm their bias, okay, to confirm their bias. Not good. Yeah. And maybe it's a work of you guys, a young researcher, should focus on looking at that too, especially for FDI. Yeah, FDI is not the angel, for they too have contributing to corruption too, very much corruption. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, but we say if you have two partners, one is foreign, one is domestic, kind of difficult to both parties to do corruption. Okay, one person, one party corrupt, another maybe don't agree. So you have a check and balance. But domestic, if they are totally corrupt, no one check on them. If government, like last time Malaysia politician very corrupt, then they also will corrupt. Okay, setting bad example. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Any more?
Mr. Jim. We have still one question, I think, in the chat box.
Yes, please.
Is the question related to the foreign direct investment from China? Is it also following by worker from China?
Oh,
I think it's in Indonesia, it has become an interesting issue because some foreign direct investment from China, following by, of course, worker from China, and sometimes here is very sensitive, Pak James. Even from the data, I think Malaysia more open than Indonesia regarding the foreign workers. So please give your perspective on this issue.
okay. Yes, China is very important, our very important FDI source, and we also have a strong business interest in China, in different city of China, mainland China, I say, not including Hong Kong and Taipei. We have a very strong history of Chinese investing here in Malaysia, and also we doing business in China. Yeah, we look at import export. You see China is in the top 10 for Malaysia. About workers, yeah, certain sector, yeah, about the Chinese FDI, yeah, they have the modus of operandi, the way they do things. Yeah, for example, in construction sector, buildings, yeah, constructing buildings. It's everywhere, not only in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN, also in Indochina. So they are actually in the construction and in telecommunication sector. Well, they sometimes bring their own workers, including top management. Before maybe about two or three decades ago, we had a domestic policy that to fix how many human resource you can bring from your country. We fix it, yeah? But since we are very committed to free trade agreement, okay, free trade agreement, for example, we are member of TPPA, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Yeah, this is a big one with US and Europe. Yeah, and also within us, among us, Malaysia and Indonesia, for example, we have ASEAN and we have AFTA. These are actually free trade agreement. So we agree. Not only we have free in terms of capital movement between the partners, but also free movement of mobility of labor. Labor is actually part of it, actually human capital, yeah, human capital. So we actually very committed to that free trade idea, the spirit of allowing mobility. So we actually no longer having like fixed how many human resource you can bring from China per industry like that. So you want to bring your workers, you bring. Make sure you look after them and you don't abuse them. You need to follow. When they're in Malaysia, they have to follow Malaysian law. So if you don't look after them, then you need to send them back. Well, we no longer actually ask them to hire local, unless of course they need. Okay, they want to hire, is up to them. Okay, they don't, they bring their own. Important is those buildings get built on time at the cheaper cost. Okay, so they say one reason why Chinese construction companies bring their own workers, because that's how they make their work faster, because they have to have they have a deadlines to follow, they have a costing to follow. They say I reduce cost, I finish on time, I have a high productivity. What is there to complain? But as you say, we also think about our domestic interests. Okay, we also want certain number of our labor force to get employed by foreign investors. Okay, that's kind of a interesting area too to look at. There's a change of that direction, yeah? And that direction should also work the other way, yeah? Because it's a free trade agreement. It means that if there's a Malaysian company operating in China, we are also free to bring our Malaysian people to work in China, and they cannot actually stop us because they agree to. So it work both ways, but you know it very well. Malaysia is 34 million people. China got 1.4 billion people. Maybe Indonesia, okay, Indonesia got slightly bigger. we not, you know, we are small, yeah, small. Although our GDP, total GDP is quite big for size, the size of our country, quite big, but still population small, yeah. Yes, any more?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Jim. I think that is the last question. So we approach to the final state of our discussion, I think, Pak James. Pak Suharnomo, Dean of Faculty of Economic, already left this forum because he has another agenda. So I think he cannot give a closing remark for this discussion. But before we close this discussion, I think I need the closing statement from you, Mr. James, to encourage what we call research environment here. So our student interesting to do research specifically might be related to issue of foreign direct investment and spillover. We know that there is still limited research in Indonesia. So please, Pak Jim.
Okay. Okay. Once again, I want to record my gratitude and thanks to Universitas Diponegoro for inviting me, for giving this platform to meet young researcher, young promising researcher. In the beginning of our session, there was about 40 people, and now reduced to 29, but never mind. Thank you for staying until the end.
Yeah,
Like I said,
as usual, Pak James. I think the 29 person here that's serious to follow. Yeah.
yes, it's the same, right? True. Here in Malaysia, too, the same. But anyway, as I say in the beginning, I had a mission. When I was invited, I thought, I hope by having this discussion will give you some idea what area of FDI you can look into, and it give you a small, things, small idea. Yeah, there is an area called FDI, and FDI is also volatile, and why we need to know it's volatile or not. Okay, so this, I think, to me, okay, because we are already doing it, it's a very interesting area. I hope it's also the same to you. I would like to see maybe one day, maybe soon, there will be a paper, publication paper you send to journal, and most likely I will be the referee and reviewers. So that will be very nice. I hope to see that. You take up this challenge, okay? Look at Indonesia data. You can follow our style, Indonesia, and then you go Japan, China, Singapore, maybe Taiwan, or South Korea. Yeah? I don't know South Korea big or not in Indonesia now. Yeah? Used to be, right? Taiwan and in South Korea used to be big in Indonesia. So you can look at it, and if you are scared of non-linear, you start with linear first, okay? But I must say to you, if you do research using linear, many people, very difficult to have a space. It's crowded, journal, very hard to publish, but if you choose Nobel and different technique, not difficult, but interesting new technique like nonlinear, especially that framework I mentioned, CKK or DCC or CCCC, you have a very strong chance to get published, and you will contribute to the study of FDI. Okay, FDI is interesting area to work. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you very much, Pak Jim. So, respected participants, we give a huge applause for Pak Jim. Thank you very much, Pak Jim. So from me, on behalf of study program, once again, thank you very much, Pak Jim, for joining us. Perhaps maybe we further can have such collaboration to produce a research or even publication. Thank you very much for inspiring us, give idea and research specifically regarding the foreign direct investment and spillover. Okay, thank you very much all respective participant. I think this is the end of our discussion, and I return to Sandu as master of ceremony. Maybe we will have a photo session, Pak James. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. The scientific oration delivered by Mr. James Alin, PhD. Thank you very much for the meaningful lecture. Your lecture will be very beneficial for us. Respected audience, before we close this event, we would like to invite you to an online photo session. To all audience, please turn your camera on so our operator can capture all of us. I give you 15 seconds to prepare. Please wait for all the audience to be ready. All right, I think all of us ready. Okay, let me count. Smile on 3. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Next. 1, 2, 3, and smile. The last one. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Thank you very much. Respected audience, we've arrived at the end of the event. From the deepest of my heart, I do apologize for my mistake in presenting this event. We're truly honored to have you with us in this event, and we hope you have been enjoying yourself at the event so far. Thank you so much for amazing enthusiasm and participation. My name is Arya Sandubaya Syaputra. Allahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak James, once again. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you very much, Mr. James Alin.
Thank you.